This is just my DIY video of the Airbag Complete spring replacement setup for a landcruiser 300. Wasn't much online when I was looking, so hopefully this helps others that are going to have a go at it. So we're going to do the full airbag core spring replacement. I don't usually do these sorts of videos, but there wasn't much on line, and the instructions are pretty basic. But so what I've got is got the wheels off the car, jack up underneath the diff so I can control the height of the diff when I take those off, jack stands and tyres under the chassis just in case it rocks about. So I think what we've got to do is remove the sway bar, take the bottom of the shock absorber, undo that bottom mount on the shock absorber, and then the springs should come out fairly easy. Well, I'm still in there a bit stiff, but we'll see how they go once I can drop it a little bit further. The jack's just holding the weight of the diff up at the moment. When we undo these last few bits, it'll be able to come down a little bit further, and hopefully those springs will pop straight out. We're going the full coil replacement, and inside the back here I've got air compressor mount there on the side of the K-on frame, and air tank up the top there, and I've got to tidy up the wiring and route the air lines as well. Anyway, we'll get into it. I'm just going to do the same for the other side, and we'll see where we get to there. To disconnect the sway bar at the top here with the axle right down, you don't get enough clearance in here, so you just got to jack the axle back up, and then hopefully with one hand, still going to be a little bit difficult, but you just sort of got to manipulate it until you get it right. Let's see if I can jam this up somewhere. Bit of a dodgy angle, but and so we might just have to change the height of this axle again. Unfortunately, I don't have a hoist or anything at home, and I'm sort of backwards and forwards a little bit. I also work away from home, so all my tools are at work, and I've just got basic ones at home, but I think we don't need too much for this particular job. It's been a little bit tricky. Bar up as high as I can. There we go. So yeah, a little bit tricky to manoeuvre that. Just change the axle height a little bit as you go, and then the shocky just sort of pulls off and leave it sitting to the side there. You'll see it extend out a little bit. Now we'll drop this jack back down and see if that's any easier, any looser. see how this goes. Yeah, still pretty tight in there. You have to do a little bit of pulling down on this at the same time as, so probably be handy to have a second person, but I reckon I'll get a wedge bar up in there and just be able to lift that up. Spring compressors would probably also be pretty handy, but something I don't have available. But again, I could make something work if I need to. Yeah, we'll see how we go here. Can't quite see. I've got there. Come back around that way. They make this all look really easy. Well, there isn't many videos for this particular model anyway, but where there is, and it's in proper workshops and things like that, they make it look all too easy. So that's the core spring removed from this side. They're not bolted in or anything like that, they just sit there in place. That stays, whatever's up the top there stays, and then we'll put the airbag in, and I think the airbag's attached at the top and just floats on the base. But we'll get to that when we get that far. I'll go and take the other spring off the other side and see how we go. That's the two landcruiser springs out, and you can see the bump stops come out with it. All that sort of stays out of the vehicle now, and we'll do the setup of the airbags. I think there's a little bit of pre-work to get them set up. So this is what you get in the box. You get 2 airbags, there and there, a couple of top plates, which we'll have to work out how we're going to fit those. And they're just heater fittings. I think these are what you use to secure the top plates, but we'll work that out. A little warning sticker you're supposed to put in a location where the operator can see, so just inside as they climb into the door. And then a few fittings, a couple of air fittings, pre-thread lock sort of bolts, heap of washers and cable ties and things, and also your coiled air hose. And because I bought the compressor kit and air tank kit, you got all your gauge set up to plumb in, and those sorts of things as well, but we'll get to those ones a bit later. Most things these days, they don't give you printed instructions, so unless you've got an iPad or something handy, you might want to print these out. They are pretty basic. You know, for instance, bump stop and core spring removal. Remove the rear core springs from the vehicle as per the manufacturer's specifications. So that doesn't really help you too much, or even when you go to reinstall it, it doesn't give you any torque settings or anything like that, which I'll have to go and chase up. Talks a little bit about the orientation and where to put some bolts to hold the top cap to the top of the airbag. Got to put your air fitting in by the looks, and then just some more setup alignment. Says to align as per the red arrow, so you've got to sort of make sure you find that and align it and so forth, and that's about the extent of the things. So look, I don't think it's a hard job, but a few more steps in here probably would have been helpful. Anyway, let's see how we go. So just setting up the tubing now through to the airbags. So going to go up over this support bar here that supports the spare wheel. So all this will be pretty protected by the spare wheel actually. So we're going to go through here, up through there, and then you go over the bracket and into the top of the upper spring mount and just hangs there, and then we'll fit that onto the airbag later. This will come down, it'll run probably along the top here or here, I haven't decided yet, through to there. And then, because if this was just if that's all we were doing, and we're going to adjust the air pressures just at the back here, then we that'd be it. But because we're going back up into the cab to the air compressor and the air control system and all that sort of stuff, we need to fit a double adapter. So the line will come through from the airbag into there, and then we split it out. One hose goes to here and one hose will go back up into the cab, and we'll set that up later. And then the same for the other side, so you'll have 2 into 1 here, 2 into 1 here, and then we're going to go back up through the cab. You can see I've got a torch on the inside there just shining a little hole. We'll just snake up through the cab and then along the back of the vehicle to the compressor setup. Over on this side here we've got the exhaust system, so I'm a little bit worried about heat. We'll go probably maybe go through the chassis, but either way we'll definitely be on the other side of this heat shield. I think that'll be okay, but we'll just when I get over that side I'll just have a bit of a look and find the best route for the airline. So now we've got a bit hard to see as we lift up this upper bracket. Got to put those captive nuts in from the top into that hole there and that hole there. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet. That'll be the next challenge. So after a lot of mucking around, you can see we've got the 2 captive nuts in place up the top here, bolted up from the bottom. Just one of those fiddly things you just got to keep mucking around until you get it right. Then you'll be doing the same thing for ages, then all of a sudden it'll just work. So definitely put your bag in, lift your diff up with the jack so it's contacting this top plate from underneath, and that makes it a bit easier trying to hold it all in place. If you've got a second set of hands, that'd be probably helpful as well. Anyway, that one's up. I'll go and do the other side and we'll see where we go from there. So got the bolt sticking up, pretty hard to see, but you can see a silver bolt sticking up in there. And then I've got to get my tool right to go, and my captive nut, and we'll see if we can a little bit more room to move on the driver's side compared to the passenger side with the exhaust in the way. So I'm hoping that this is going to go a lot better. Combination of trying it from underneath and trying it from top, and eventually it all sort of comes together. Let's get back that bolt off a bit. Get this captive nut to sit over the top of it. Nice little sharp edge here as well too, that doesn't help your fingers. But she's a pain. It's it'd be nice if they gave you the option to just use a nutsert. For those that have those tools, it'll be a lot easier. Alright, I think I might have that. Or close to it. Not quite. Okay, that's that one in. Now for the front one, let's get that down into place. Okay, what's that one in? Come up from the bottom, find the hole. And the bolt's just to the back there. Really hard to see. I reckon I might just jack that up a little bit higher. I'm going to push that bag up as high as you can so the bolt comes through nice and clear. Yep, that's better. Yeah, can't quite. Oh, there we go. So I'm just touching it at the moment. I'm going to move my fingers around till I get good. Don't think that's on. I'm just going to get the tool up in there and see if we can get it to bite. Yeah, it did. So this side's been so much easier compared to the other side. It probably took me 2 or 3 times longer to do the side with the exhaust, and then I've come around this side and maybe I used up all my swear words on the other side, and this side just decided to work. Okay, let's lift this back one up. And then we'll check the hose coming out of the top of the bag is still right, which it should be. I think what I might do now is do the put the sway bar back on, the bottom shocky bolt back on, and then I'll jack the diff up and make sure all this here is positioned where it's supposed to sit, which is pretty obvious. It's just that edge there is going to sit over there, and that bit goes up into the piston, and then that part's done. It's just more plumbing. I'll just nip these up for now, and I'll have to get the torque settings later for that. So that's the sway bar on this side. You'll see how the bottom shock mount goes down here. These can be a little bit tricky sometimes. Yeah. may have to... Oh no, she's going on into there. Just get this one to just touch, and then I'll go over and check the other side and make sure it's all going where it's supposed to go. This one here, seems to be right. I'll just duck over the other side. Seems to be sliding up where it's supposed to be going. Alright, that's that part in. Then we've just got to finish on these hoses and we'll get on to the next section. Just pull it away from the shroud for the top and beam, just to make sure you get a good seat when you push it in. And we'll just give these a trim up. It's a nice straight edge. You want to make sure the hose isn't crushed as well, so if you're cutting it with pliers or side cutters or something, you'll crush it. Just poke that into there. I always like to pull the lock out a bit if I can. And then this one here will go into this one. And then just give that a little pull back to bite it in. I peel this back because one of the ways to release these clips is to push against it. So if we've got this really tight and it's pushing against it, it could potentially loosen that off. So I'll just peel it back until I get it all set up, and then I'll trim that off so it's not pushing hard. That's there, and that should be sweet. So now we've gone from our outside valve through this adapter back to our airbag, and we've got that on both sides. And now we've got to bring a line up from here back up into the cab, and so that's the next section. I'll leave all this loose and untidy right to the end of the job when I test everything. And then after I test it, check for leaks and all those sorts of things, that's when I'll tie it up, because I don't want to go to the trouble of doing all the ties and everything, and then find I've got a leak and have to snip it all back off again. And so I'll just leave it all loose until that point, and we'll see how the next section goes. Taking a plug out of the floor and just drilled a couple of holes in it and feed it through, and they're going to feed this up through the floor into the car, and I'll finish the wiring out here, or the piping work out here. So just a look at the finished product. Up on the Coil, I think they call it moldboard on the side there, is just where I have the charger and everything set up and the power supply. We've got the Airman pump set up on the middle bracket there. That's just the air filter for the pump. It could go on the back there, but it was just a little bit more room to have it set up remotely, easy to change the filter later on. When you get the pumps from Airbag Man, it comes with I think it was 2 spare filters sort of thing. On the end here, got the air outlet for pumping up tyres, and then up the top there on the Coil shelf we've got the air tank. I think it's a 1 gallon air tank, all from Airbag Man, so that was all part of the kit. The K-on stuff works really well. This is actually designed to go on its side on top of a set of drawers, but they don't actually make one for vehicles without a drawer system sort of thing, but lucky enough you can spin around on the side. I just bought an extra set of brackets for it, although I wouldn't have needed them, but I got an extra bracket, which is this section here, and that's got the adjustable sort of slot, so you can move that up and down. So that works really well. It's all pretty solid. This shelf, you can shake it and the whole car moves, so you know, it's pretty solid sort of stuff. And then the only other thing, I'll see if I can pull this out. A little bit of a mess down here still, but this is where I've got the valve control for the airbags, so for the remote control. I think that's the remote control sensor, and everything else. Got to do a little bit more work on the battery setup at some stage, but for now, so I've got that set up. So yeah, a little bit more work tied out wiring and stuff like that, but that's just how it sits. And I'll start it up and we'll have a look at the car going up and down. For the airbag setup, I've just got the two external valves sitting down here on the Anderson plug. If we have a look up under here, you might see the airbag sitting up in there. And this is just the airbags going up and down. Up and down, just using the remote control. And that's dead bottom there now, and I haven't actually taken them to full height, but I'll have to just check on the gauge on the inside to see what that is, sort of thing. But yeah, works pretty well. This is just where I've mounted the gauge for the airbags. Sort of see how it jumps there. It's pretty close, but what I find is to get it really set up nice and neat, I just use the you know, tyre pressure gauge. I've got a digital tyre pressure gauge on the back. That just gives me a little bit more control.